Let's get started. How was your week this past week? I know it's been about a week since we met, and we've had Memorial Day. I'm sure we've had many barbecues and parties, and for some, I know the weather wasn't all that cooperative for those kind of things, but did anything come up over this week that might have been different from previous Memorial Day weekend events, thanks to this class perhaps? Anything for folks? Yes, Bill.
3 more radiations.
Woo! Yay! That's awesome. Wow.
It's gone very quickly. And this class, I think, so.
Awesome. Good. So this coming week is going to be full of graduations for you. And celebrations and good. Awesome. Thank you. It's a good segue to kind of remind us about the class that we had last week, right, with Jasana and the anti-cancer environment. And she briefly touched on the fabrics that surround us in our car and in our home, on our floors, in our clothes. Anything come up for folks, about that or anything that she presented last week? Thank you for bringing us there. Perhaps it came up in your phone buddy conversations at all? Any thoughts? There's a lot of good information she shared. And she did remind us that we can request to not have, if we're to buy new furniture, to not have those chemicals put on there, to be aware when we're going clothes shopping or different shopping to look for those things. But
I have been watching, because I like to use a microwave because sometimes I'm just dashing in and out. I have been watching now what something's in if it's frozen, and what I'm using and thinking about it and trying to say, well, is this, we're going out in the sun and putting something on that I've been using and going, well, maybe that's not what it's just like an ongoing question in my mind about looking at so many things that are there, what I'm eating, what I'm around, what I'm touching, what I'm breathing, and just, thinking, a lot more about is when I'm finished with whatever it is I might have, for a window clean or something, what do I want to get next? Okay, I'll get the green one next. So I'm sort of planning in my mind.
Good. Lots of awareness, increased awareness.
Yeah. It feels like there's so much of it, but I just say, okay, I just take one category at a time. It's one day at a time.
Step. That's right. Yeah. Good. Thank you. So just thinking a little bit about next week, our very final class after 12 weeks. I can't believe we're almost to the very end, but you all know Bill's coming to talk about stages of change and looking back on changes you may or may not have made or are contemplating making in the future. He'll be with us till that first hour or so of class, and then that second hour we're going to get together and as we always are, but really just celebrate, have our graduation, and I would love to hear from any of you if you have a poem or I know we laughed, but anything, any hobby, anything fun or new or exciting you want to share with the class. Perhaps a little jig, the polka, or perhaps you play the horn. I want to know about it. So let's have a good time, okay? It also, next week, remember the second class, I think it was the second class, most of you had your blood pressure, your weight, your hips and waist measured. So if you still have your index card or not, if you want to bring that with you next week, we're going to have folks here to do those again to just raise our awareness, kind of have us thinking about whether or not they've changed. So that'll be an option. And if you think of it, may want to come a few minutes early next week just because we need to do that if you want to. No pressure if you don't. I did put out the Cancer Survivors Day. I'll be there. I don't know if Megan plans to be there, so we'd love to see you. There's going to be a lot of staff here from the Payson Center at Cancer Survivors Day. There's a number to call if you want to come. We'll have all kinds of refreshments and photos and singing. I'm going to have the photo booth, and Charlie, who was in one of the anti-cancer classes before you, was going to share her story. She's on the front there, so we're going to have a good time. If you want to try to relax as best as possible in your seat, if you can, maybe take some nice cleansing breaths. Let your muscles just kind of melt away, and you can close your eyes if you want or soften your gaze and just slowly breathe and listen as I read this poem that one of our faculty that teaches the anti-cancer mindset class, Margaret Fletcher, shared with me. So in honor of tonight's class, this poem is called Smells of Good Food. And as you read it, as I read it and as you're breathing, focus on what type of imagery comes up for you. So, the smells of good food. Truth never frightens. I remember once walking out in the winter to greet my father as he returned from work. He was a little late that night, and I waited by a street corner near our house. The cold can live in thanks. My wool coat became a sacred robe. How happy I felt to be alive. I waited in a world of magic, smells of good food, the street lamps, the smoke coming from chimneys, the candles burning in windows, the snow. Angels feasted as I did on this existence. I saw him coming. We ran into each other's arms, and he lifted me as he so often had, twirled me through the air, his hands beneath my arms. That is what the truth does, lifts and lets us fly. Would someone like to read our anti-cancer quote for this evening? Yes, Rita. Thank you.
Every day at every meal, we can choose food that will defend our bodies against the invasion of cancer by detoxifying carcinogenic substances, supporting our immune system, preventing tumors from creating the inflammation that serves as their fertilizer.
Thank you. So tonight, as we've been doing in the previous two classes related to diet, I'm sure you're making changes or contemplating changes, maybe restocking your cabinets, your shelves with new items or different items. And that's what we're going to be learning more about tonight is things that we can do to help with our anti-cancer diet. These key diet keys, we have seen these before, just a little reminder. Eating a plant-based diet, and if you eat animal foods, to treat them as what? Condiments. Okay, it's our new word that I'm trying to incorporate more with my meat products. We are so fortunate right now because we have more and more options to choose local and organically grown foods, especially for spring and summer, farmers markets popping up. So we can really utilize that. Reducing added sugar and choosing whole grains over refined grains. And the last one, making the time to plan, cook, and enjoy our meals. So that one I know we've talked about in the past can be pretty challenging, but previously, remember when we ate that strawberry really mindfully in class? And I think we had a reading about the lemon, and we could feel our mouth salivating, or was that the lemon? So mindfully enjoying our meals, not only taking the time to prepare them, but really enjoying them and reflecting on that. All right, so on that note, I'm going to let Megan take over.
This week we're going to talk about fats, sugar, grains, spices, and teas. So rule number 10, change your oil. There really are two things that we want to make sure to address. One is, will eating less total fat lower the risk of cancer coming back or improve survival? And then what about different kinds of fats? Does that make a difference? It's like I brought this from home, and you've got to pass it and give it a whiff because it smells delicious. You don't have to if you'd like to. I should.
Oh yeah.
So something that's a toasted sesame oil, and it's so powerful. You really need a small amount. So even if it was not the greatest choice, which it is, it's a really good choice. But those are just they're great to incorporate in cooking. You know, an awesome way to add to grains or stir fries, just a little bit, and get a ton of flavor. You go to a cookout and you have a soda. God forbid. your blood sugar goes up, right? Insulin levels go up, which is the hormone that goes up at the same time in order to take that glucose, bring it into your cells so that your body can use it for energy, which is a normal part of the process, right? It's good to have energy. Using that glucose effectively is a good thing. So here's our resistant cell. When you exercise, your cells open up. You become less insulin resistant. Your body can now use that blood sugar. Are there any questions about sugar before we move on?
Feel free to help yourself to those beautiful, delicious dishes that you all brought if you need a little more food. And we'll take about 10 minutes. So if we could reconvene a little before 6:40, that would be great. And so if you want to just relax yourself again for just a moment as you look at this beautiful cup of tea with china, and maybe you focus on the color that your liquid is turning. It's still surprisingly quite warm. If you want to touch that cup and feel the nice warmth against your skin, we're going to have a little green tea savoring mindset moment. So like the famous Pavarotti once said, one of the nicest things about life is the way we must regularly stop and devote our attention to eating, and I might add to drinking. Hopefully nice, delicious beverages like this. So as we sit and focus on this drink for a moment, I'm going to take some breaths as we look at this beautiful liquid, and we're going to just savor. So when you're ready, perhaps you want to add a little pinch of lemon to it, or not. And if you want to lift that cup up, maybe smell the lemon or smell this delicious, nourishing tea for a moment. And notice what thoughts might come to mind, how your body is reacting to the smells. When you're ready, you might just want to take a sip of the nice warm liquid and feel it in your mouth, perhaps on your tongue or against your cheeks, or as it slowly moves down your throat into your body. Perhaps you're going to mindfully contemplate it moving to all the cells across your entire body. And slowly take some more sips if you like. If you're not drinking it, that's fine. Maybe you just want to smell the tea bag itself. Let's try to engage all of our senses and appreciate this drink that is nourishing us. And just breathe and enjoy this for a moment. Maybe consider the source from whence it came. How did it come to you? Who grew the tea? Who packaged it and put it together? Who prepared it? And we'll recognize how it was presented tonight. And just enjoy the beverage. And you can continue to enjoy it as Megan comes back and leads us in our second half of our lecture tonight.
Rule number 12, getting on the whole grain train. As far as the research goes, studies show that higher amounts of fiber in whole grains decrease the risk of colorectal cancer. Rule number 13, spice it up. So take a guess. On average, how many seasonings does the American chef have at home in their kitchen? 2?
How many do they have, or how many
Yeah.
do they use?
How many do they have on hand, on average?
I would say 30.
40. 40 on average. So any questions about herbs and spices? Yes, Jean?
How much do you use to have some kind of an effect?
Yeah. I think our last rule here Have a cup of tea or 3. You've already had 1 at least for the day.
So Sherry will be sending out an evaluation that will give you the opportunity to share what you thought about Megan's 3 sessions. So you'll probably see that around Thursday or Friday. Just a few things, reminders before we all head home. I know it's time, but if you have your name tags on, go ahead and take those off. Thanks again for the beautiful dishes you all brought. They were delicious. I thoroughly enjoyed them back there. But don't forget to take home your dish, as well as the beautiful rosemary plants you each get, and our lovely volunteers packaged up turmeric for all of you. So feel free to help yourself to those things. And next week, there's for our final class, just a little reading to do, the conclusion in your anti-cancer lifestyle book. And Bill also asks if you get a moment to look on page 13 in your workbook. There's some questions to read and reflect on and answer prior to class. So a little bit of prep work for next week. Again, if you want to do something special, just let me know. And just a little reminder again about the weight and blood pressure for our final class. And in closing, I just thought it might be nice to just return to the basic 3-breath breathing technique. So I'm sure you're probably going to take more than 3 breaths in the amount of time it takes for me to talk. But this is the 3-breath.
No, only 3.
The 3-breath practice, it is called. So again, if you can, to just kind of relax your mind, relax your body, relax your breaths. Get as comfortable as you possibly can. For the time it takes to complete 3 breaths in and out, simply relax and pay attention to what is happening within you and around you. Consider your body's sensations, the thoughts or emotions you may be experiencing at this moment. Notice the sounds around you in the room. Notice what you are taking in ever so gently. And with whatever you find, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, just stay with this experience. Feel your breath as it goes up your nostrils or hits the back of your throat. Feel your lungs as they expand and contract. Feel your belly, perhaps, as it rises and falls. If your mind wanders, note this and gently bring it back to your breath. Make a commitment to be fully with what is going on with each breath as it is happening. Make a commitment to be here for the time it takes to breathe in and out 3 or more times. This is it. You've got it. You're not trying to make a particular thing happen. You're not trying to assess whether what you find is good or bad. You are simply experiencing what is here without judgment. Thank you all so much. Have a safe ride home, and we'll see you next week.